I got it yesterday. I don't know. I kind of like it. I went on BC's campus for the first time since February 2020 yesterday. Basically, I've been wanting to make this video for a while, and by a while, I mean since December 2020, because that's when I got in. I was an early decision 1 applicant, and yeah, every video I watched on getting into BC back when I was applying was really bad, and I don't, like, I just mean that in the sense, like, nobody was completely transparent. Everybody was always, like, super high on the GPA and SAT scores. They never really went in depth on their essays and what they did to get in. And I just want to make the video that I wish I had when I was applying to BC. I want to be as transparent as humanly possible with you guys. So I'm going to share everything, probably too much. I hope there's no creeps out there watching this who are going to try and, like, steal my identity or something like that. I'm going to get very into it. Just to set things up, my name is Ryan. I live in Massachusetts, and I'm going into the Morrissey College of Science and Arts as a Bachelor of Arts psychology major with a concentration in clinical psychology. To start things off, we can go ahead and talk about my GPA. My final unweighted GPA was a 3.69, and my final weighted GPA was a 4.28. Now, at my high school, and just the way I feel in general, that was kind of average. And, you know, take that with a grain of salt. If you're hearing that and you're below that, it's completely fine. If you're hearing that and your GPA is above that, you are literally in the ballpark for what Boston College wants. But, you know, my whole high school career, I've kind of considered myself to be an average student. And, you know, just to contextualize that a little bit, I've pretty much always had A's for the most part, with a couple of B's mixed in there. I took a good amount of APs. I was always doing honors classes. And the high school I went to was a private, Catholic, dress-coded, all-boys school. So, I mean, fun fact, I made it all 4 years of my dress-coded high school without learning how to tie a tie. I'm 18, I don't know how to tie a tie, never learned. It was a little something I was told as a freshman that only a few seniors do. I consider it an accomplishment. It might be more sad than anything, but I mean, anyways, to split things up, I'm going to talk about my yearly GPA and my cumulative GPA. So with my yearly GPA, I'm just going year by year based off of the grades that I got within that one school year. These aren't adding up over time. This is just the grades that I got. So as you can see, my freshman year, I had an unweighted GPA of 3.71 and a weighted GPA of 4.07. My sophomore year, I had an unweighted GPA of 3.62 and a weighted GPA of 4.12. My junior year was when COVID started, right in the middle of the third quarter. I had an unweighted GPA of 3.78 and a weighted GPA of 4.53. And my senior year, I spent the entire year online to protect my family from COVID. I ended with an unweighted GPA of 3.91 and a weighted GPA of 4.62. Then heading over to my cumulative GPA, things are pretty similar here, but we can just run through it really quick. Freshman year is the exact same as the last one. Obviously, there's no differences there. My sophomore year GPA was an unweighted 3.67 and a weighted 4.10. My junior year was an unweighted 3.70 and a weighted 4.24, and my senior year was an unweighted 3.75 and a weighted 4.34. You might notice that those last two numbers are different from what I said at the beginning of the video. That's because I used a website to just go through my transcript and calculate my GPA year per year. You know, they obviously do it a little bit differently than my school, and BC does it. So that's what I should have ended up with in a perfect universe, but whatever. I mean, I would have loved to get that, but as you can see though from those GPAs, my unweighted typically went starting point, down, then up for 2 years, and my weighted GPA was going up for all 4 years. And this is exactly what admissions officers want to see when they're looking at your CommonApp and your transcripts and everything like that. Having an upward slope is very good. Having a constant slope is fine. It's just as good. It means that you're a consistent student. Having a downward slope means that you need to compensate for that with things such as essays, activities, your SAT score, things like that need to make up for the fact that you kind of declined. But there is sections in the CommonApp to talk about, okay, what kind of contributed to this downward slope? Did maybe you move or something? Did you lose a family member? They're definitely human beings reading your essays and everything like that, so they will make sure to use this context in making their decision on whether or not you should come to the school. Moving on to my SAT score, I ended up with a super score of 1380. Yes, BC does do super scores. And if you don't know what that is, that's when you take the best math and English score from the multiple SATs that you took, you add them together, and that is the best score you could have possibly gotten. My math section was a 650, and my reading section was a 720. My essay was a 17, but that doesn't matter. It's over. There's no more SAT essay, as well as SAT 2 subject tests. They don't exist anymore, so great job. The study for the SAT, I just did Khan Academy. I remember in my junior year, I would just get really bored in my religion class. So I would just do every single question there was for the English part of Khan Academy. I don't like math. I'm not a math person. That's obvious in my score. So yeah, I just went question by question, section by section until I got like the 3 out of 3 stars on Khan Academy or whatever. And it was great. I mean, it's really easy. You can blow through it really quick and you're learning in the process. Math takes a lot more concentration and effort to practice on Khan Academy. So make sure you have like a pen and paper or like an iPad or something next to you so that you can be writing out the problems and working on it. The tips for the SAT I would give is just kind of like don't second guess yourself. When I was taking the math during like my PSATs, I would always do stupid stuff like enter like 3 plus 2 into my calculator just to be sure because I was so nervous. And during my last couple of SATs that I took, I just decided to stop doing that. I was just going to go with my gut, and if I knew something was right, I was just going to go with it. Moving on to my APs, I took a total of 10 AP courses during my high school career. I took, in order almost, AP European History, Physics 1, English Language, Spanish, US History, Government and Politics, Calculus 1, Literature, Environmental, and Biology. As you can see, those are the scores I got. Don't talk about calculus. I took senior year online. That's the most I can say. I don't really have that many tips for taking the AP exams. As you can see, I'm not the best at it. Those 5s and 4s, to be honest, come from the age of online. I took my junior and senior year APs online, so that means that was 9 AP exams online out of 10. So just pay attention in class. Obviously your AP teachers go over how the AP exam is going to be. All of the work and tests they give you usually use AP questions, so just internalize that, look at your old tests and homeworks, and practice off of that. At Boston College, the way that AP credits work is a little bit different. So at BC, we have a core curriculum. This is the liberal arts education that everybody is required to take. So there's about 15 courses, and it ranges from things from like cultural diversity to writing, a language requirement, literature class. And instead of the AP exams getting a 4 or 5 actually counting towards like the total credits you will need to graduate, they just exempt you from taking these core requirement courses during your freshman and sophomore year usually. So for example, getting a 5 on AP language and a 4 on AP literature made it so I don't have to take a writing and a literature class during my freshman year at BC. These don't actually count towards the credits I need to graduate. I need to take classes, instead of those two. So I'm taking like an elective, for example. If you get a total of 30 credits, you can actually graduate a year early at BC. You need to go on the website and look at what each AP score counts for, out of 3 or 4 credits towards this 30 credits to get a year off. I ended up with like 25, 26 credits out of 30, so I couldn't graduate a year early, but why would you want to anyway? I know it saves you money, but according to what I heard on the tour yesterday, 95% of seniors come back to live on campus. So clearly, it's something special. CommonApp, let's talk about it. For my honors, I listed National Honor Society for my junior and senior year. I was on the headmaster's list senior year during the first quarter, and I was AP Scholar with honor. That was because I got like above a 3 or 4 on a couple of my AP exams. I did not include my first honors and second honors awards. That's something my high school gave out if you had like above a B+ in every class or an A- in every class. And that was every quarter, so I had a whole lot of them. It wasn't really necessary to list that on the CommonApp. Moving on to my activities, I did JV rowing or crew for 2 seasons during my freshman year, and then I did JV volleyball for 1 season during my sophomore year. I was the president of the philosophy club during my senior year, and during junior year, I was just a participant. Besides that, I did stage crew, investment club, newspaper club, and Spanish club. And outside of school, I did some volunteer work during my junior and senior year on a website called 7 Cups, which I'll get to in my essays portion of the video. And then I also included the jobs that I did during high school. So I worked at Chipotle during junior year, and I worked at a drive-in nearby for sophomore, junior, and senior year. A note for the CommonApp, it asks you to like kind of give a description for every one of these things that you enter in under activities. I had really no clue what to do with that. It's very vague. I think everybody interprets it differently. So I just kind of gave like a general synopsis of like what I was doing during my time there. For rowing, I was like, I was like a 7-seat freshman year, etc., etc. For newspaper club, I said I was a columnist and I would write about things going on in the school, different movie reviews and things like that. Moving on to my essays, the CommonApp essay that I chose was discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. In this essay, I talked about how my grandfather was suffering with a mental illness throughout my childhood, and this kind of inspired me to get involved with psychology, and it sparked my interest in the subject. I wanted to do what I could as like a little 13-year-old kid to try and help out my grandpa. So I included that as time went on and his condition got worse, I would start reading books on my own. I would start doing research into psychology and seeing different ways I could try and help him, even though, in reality, I doubt I was doing much, but it was just something that got my spark going. This event, my grandpa having a mental illness, is what got me interested, and I had a new understanding of myself as someone who was interested in psychology. In the last paragraph, which is my third paragraph, you can only fit 3 into this essay, I talked about how I joined that 7 Cups website. So basically, when quarantine started, I wanted a way to help people while I was stuck at home. So I went on this website, 7 Cups, where you can basically just anonymously help people who have problems and are just seeking someone to talk with. I by no means am a licensed professional or anything, but you do go through some training to become a listener, and you just talk with people about their problems and give advice and just try to help them through the things that they're going through. This CommonApp essay is very important in general because they want to get to know you as a human being. So far, you have just been a list of numbers to them, and they want to know who you are, how you've grown as a person, what interests you, what you've done to set yourself above others, that you're driven, etc., all the cheesy cliche stuff. For the Boston College supplemental essay, the prompt was, when you choose a college, you will join a new community of people who have different backgrounds, experiences, and stories. What is it about your background, your experience, or your story that will enrich the Boston College community? I started this essay by talking about how my brothers both went to very highly ranked schools, and that I had very high expectations to live up to for my entire high school career. As soon as I became a freshman, my brother was leaving as a senior. During my junior year, I went on a trip called Kairos, which is when you go down to Cape Cod for a couple of days, and you have small and large group sessions, and you just kind of talk about stuff. You try to grow with your classmates and open up to each other in ways that you haven't before, because you're just only in a classroom with the people you're around for 4 years, and you never really have a chance to be close with them and open up about things you never really talk about. And this Kairos was good because Boston College also offers the exact same program, Kairos, and I thought, okay, well, Kairos at my high school, Kairos at Boston College, this is a good connection to make, and the admissions officer is going to be like, oh, all right, well, this guy, that's kind of cool. I mentioned at the end of my second paragraph how when we got back from the trip, we were all in the auditorium, and we were locked in there with our parents in the back of the room. The teacher said, we need at least 5 people to get up on the stage and talk to the parents about what happened during this trip and what you learned from it. And nobody was going up. It was dead silent. It was so bad. And we were waiting for a good while for someone to stand up. And for some reason, the people around me were kind of pushing me on to go forward. And I'm very reserved. I have pretty bad anxiety. I do not like public speaking. But I don't know what it was. Over that Kairos trip, I learned to open myself up more and just, not let my anxiety get the better of me. So I went up. I just started talking about what we did and how much I enjoyed it and how I grew a lot closer with the people around me and kind of formed a community. Towards the end of the speech, my anxiety came back, got tunnel vision. I was like, all right, I got to wrap this up. I sat down, got an applause. A couple more people went up after I was the first one to do it, and that was that. I ended it by saying every time I visit Boston College's campus, I feel that sense of community and comfort, and I'm not overwhelmed with anxiety and things like that. I said that I feel as though Boston College is like a community where I can feel the same way that I felt on that Kairos trip, that I have the ability to open myself up and not be so reserved as I usually am. Finally, the last essay is the COVID-19 essay. I don't know how this portion of the video is going to hold up over the coming years, obviously, but this is the prompt. Community disruptions such as COVID-19 and natural disasters can have a deep and long-lasting impact. If you need it, this space is yours to describe those impacts. Colleges care about the effects on your health and well-being, safety, family circumstances, future plans, and education, including access to reliable technology and quiet study spaces. Please use this space to describe how these events have impacted you. My counselor said, stay away from this essay. If you're like parents did not die from COVID, you should not be using this essay. I thought differently, and I went ahead and I did it anyways. I said that in April of 2020, I was supposed to go on a volunteer trip to Camden, New Jersey to help out in soup kitchens and help feed the homeless and things like that. It got canceled. I was super bummed out. I was like, man, I really wanted to go on this. I got in right at last minute. I had to pull a lot of strings to get in there, and it got canceled. So I was like, all right, what's a way that I can still volunteer and help people while I'm in quarantine? Insert 7 Cups, the website I've been talking about. So I just used this essay to contextualize basically what the admissions officer has been reading thus far, and it kind of makes them rethink everything they've just gone over and be like, okay, now I understand kind of what this all means. That just sums me up as a person. That was my high school career. And if there's one tip I have to give you guys, it is get involved with Boston College from the start. During COVID, they had a ton of Zoom calls that you could participate in. So I signed up for literally all of them. And when you log into the Zoom call, it asks you for your email and your name. This gets logged somewhere. Every time you go on a trip to a college, they'll say, we don't consider these things in the application process, but they do. They're lying to you, because if they were honest about it, everybody would be doing it. Then it wouldn't set some people who are driven apart from anybody else. So please contact admissions officers, contact the heads of like the departments you want to get into, get them to give you some students' emails and talk to them about that. It's all recorded and it makes a difference. That's what I did. I'm sure that had a big part to play, considering my scores were on the lower end of what they wanted. And to wrap things up, BC gave me a class of 2025 kind of profile that I just wanted to go over with you guys to show you how it was different for me this year. For the class of 2025, there were almost 40,000 applications, which is 10,000 more than the year prior. This led to the admission rate being 18.9%. Boston College typically has about a 27% acceptance rate, so this was definitely a tight year. I don't know how I made it in. The average SAT score for the class of 2025 was 1495. 40% of the admitted people did not submit a test score. As you know, I got a 1380. That is much lower than the 1500 they were expecting with this average. So yeah, just know that scores aren't everything. Your essays are the most important thing. And I hope that helped you guys. I just wanted to be as clear with you as possible about everything I did to get into Boston College. I love it. If this video gets like a ton of views like all the other ones on YouTube, I will try to, make like a dorm tour and like my days on campus and things like that. I'm not a vlogger. I think vlogging is super weird. I would never want to do that in public. But if I get a couple more subscribers and things like that, I'll see what I can do. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you get into all the colleges that you're applying to, and I hope that you come to BC. It's a great school. It's right outside the city. It's like a 20-minute train ride right into the city anytime you need it. It's a great school, and I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Do they do 10-piece here, or is it just 8 and 12?
I think they do 10 pieces.
Alright, fierce. If they don't, do you want 8 or 12?
12. And if they don't do the nuggets, just get me a Dave single.
Dave single, okay, fierce. Alright, QQ.
Bye.